20th installment of the 706 podcast, where today we will be discussing 1940s Ernst Lubitsch's The Shop Around the Corner, a cornerstone, I would argue, for the romantic comedy in which a young man exchanges letters with a woman played by Margaret Sullivan, named Clara Novak. And, I mean, as any romantic comedy person could tell you what to expect, the two fall in love. The film also features a great supporting role by Frank Morgan, probably most famously played one of the most, I would say, recognizable characters in all of film history, the Wizard in Wizard of Oz. He does a great supporting role here, and that's pretty much the movie. Now, before we get to the opinions, unfiltered as I always like to get, let me just make a confession. The 21st century has the Benedict Cumberbatch and the Cumberbitches, Tom Hiddleston and the Hiddlestons. But, you know, if he was around now, let's just say...
So they call them Hiddlestons?
That's what I've heard. I'm sure there's other names.
It's kind of lame.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. Who else has a better name than Cumberbitches? But let's just say I would be subscribing to the F Yeah Jimmy Stewart if he was around today. I still should.
I love me some J Stew. That's what I've always said.
I was wondering what his nickname would be. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
It's definitely that.
Jimmy Stewart is my man, but, you know, perhaps that has filtered my opinion of this movie, which I love. Let's just go to the opinions, though. Who wants to start?
I can go. No one else. What?
Do you want to say your name first? And
then, sorry.
No worries.
Introduction.
I'm so excited.
I'm Tony, I think.
I'm Connor.
And I am Kirk, your favorite. I know.
Number one in the polls.
And then our host is Anthony.
Yeah.
He so humbly forgot to mention.
I'm so excited, you know. I thought, you know, they would introduce themselves with the review, but, you know, sorry.
Yeah, so this is a movie I had never heard of. I'd never seen an Ernst Lubitsch movie. A true layman and Philistine over here. And if you remember last week, I wasn't super excited to see this. I thought it could be a bit of a Kaylee, for lack of a better word.
What do you mean by that?
Like kale.
Like
eating your vegetables.
So it's nutritious. I know. Clarify for the
audience. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that was two.
Outside the Brooklyn audience.
Fair enough. But yeah, as
the
I said,
Brooklyn audience would see that as a term of endearment. Speaking to the Toledo
audience.
Or perhaps they'd see that as a term of hatement.
But yeah, I love Jimmy Stewart. I've loved numerous of his movies. I think probably It's a Wonderful Life is my favorite. I think he's a really... he's got that great persona, and he's got a kind of a persona and a cadence he brings to every role, but he's a really great actor as well. There's a lot of nuance, and he can do some very subtle things with his face and his voice, and I think he's just great. So anyway, this movie was pretty delightful. He's great in it. He's my favorite part, but I'm sorry, what's her name? Margaret Sullivan?
Yeah, Clara Novak is her character.
Yeah, Margaret Sullivan is very good as well. Really this thing is just like, it's a great ensemble piece. You got a great little characters. You got Karl Marx. You got you got a bunch of little characers here, and
lots of mustaches.
Lots of mustaches. A lot of
great suits.
So the guy you mentioned, who is the Wizard of Oz,
Morgan.
He's the owner of the store.
Yeah, he's the owner of what's essentially a Macy's kind of store in, you know, Budapest, Hungary. Monacek is his name.
Yeah, Monacek. Okay, so yeah, he's another highlight. He's just so funny. There's a lot of warmth. There's just a lot of just little things like where he'll say towards the end of the movie where it's Christmas or Christmas Eve and they're all going their separate ways, and he goes up to Jimmy Stewart and he says, "This is after we found out he knows his wife's been cheating on him." He goes up to Jimmy Stewart and he's like, invites him to dinner and then Jimmy Stewart turns him down because he has somewhere else to be. He's like, okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't alone. And the camera just lingers on him. It's like, oh no, it's actually because he's going to be alone. It's just a great little humanizing moment. And it's full of life and fun and energy. There are a lot of funny lines. I think it really holds up, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just love this too. I thought it was a great kind of throwback. I mean, I've also seen Ernst Lubitsch's To Be or Not to Be. And what I love about this is it feels like a real throwback to kind of classic theater. I mean, almost Restoration era theater. This is a plot that's almost Shakespearean. It has this thing of not Shakespearean in the sense of epic or large or tragic. I mean more in the comic sense more. It's a thing of mistaken identity and drama and tension and central two characters who are both in their own right sort of well-rounded and very interesting and complex characters, and then a couple kind of little bit parts here and there that are also very interesting. Although I will say that, this movie did subvert my expectations a little bit. Of course, immediately going in that, there's this thing of, okay, he's writing letters to her and she's writing the letters to him. They're going to meet and they're going to find out, but the movie doesn't let this happen until the very, very end. They actually do know, at least Jimmy Stewart knows, almost within maybe within the 25-minute mark, that she's the one writing the letters, and he just kind of plays with this. It's very interesting. So it's like it really is. It kind of really drives in the knife of tension and drama and what we know and what they know. Anyway, I thought it was great. But let's have Kirk's opinion.
Yeah, this was it was a good movie. It's well made. I enjoyed it. I thought it was endearing. The love story is one that can be cherished. I think it's a kind of an impactful, sweet little morsel of a movie. I understand now what Anthony was referring to when he said it's the most plagiarized, or you just said
I called it one of the. It's never stopped being remade. Is how I phrased it.
So for me, my data point for this movie, for a direct comparison, would be You've Got Mail,
which it directly remade, actually,
and Meg Ryan. I even like little scenes where if you've seen You Got Mail but you haven't seen this scene, it's where he'll go to the cafe, she's there waiting, and then he'll kind of interrogate her a little bit, kind of prod her, him knowing that she's waiting for him but her not knowing, and he's taking up her time, and she's like, why won't you just leave? And there's some fun elements of kind of mystery there.
Jimmy Stewart is a sadist.
Yeah. No,
he's just toying with her for an hour.
Yeah.
As far as Jimmy Stewart, Jimmy Stewart for me is a great actor. He's a great actor, but again, he suffers from what I call, once again, I'm suffering from recency bias, but I call it a George Clooney syndrome, where I see, here's Jimmy Stewart pretending to be in a working as a clerk in a department store in Hungary. I don't see the clerk in the department store in Hungary because he's so monolithic. So it's hard for me to separate the character. Tony and I actually got into a discussion about kind of dissociating the character from the actor or actress, and it's been hard to do that with certain figures, and I think Jimmy Stewart is one of those. So as much as I love that, I almost maybe would have preferred an unknown in the role, though I definitely appreciated his ability to kind of propel the movie forward. And overall, I enjoyed it. I thought Frank Morgan was excellent. I thought he was the shining star of the movie.
He was great.
I didn't see anything really super special out of the romantic interest, Margaret Sullivan, but maybe that's just kind of, she definitely didn't fail, and she was doing everything that was expected of her.
Yeah.
So that's probably just an actual, just a product of the era that the film was made in. So I enjoyed it.
I think Kirk brings up an interesting point with Jimmy Stewart as a George Clooney sort of actor, because I think one thing that might interest us is, around this time, up until around, the studio system changing a bit with New Hollywood in the late 60s, is movies were generally written, for stars under contract, and they were written with stars in mind. So this is Jimmy Stewart in his sort of prototypical every man, every hero role that's going to lead up to, most famously, as Tony said, with It's a Wonderful Life. I don't personally have that issue, but I could see where Kirk gets at. Just to hit some of these points, I love Lubitsch. If someone were to take the things I like, throw it in a factory, and make a movie, I think this might come close to it. It's funny that Tony said he had never seen a Lubitsch movie, because I think, while there's certain Lubitsch trademarks in this one, this might be one of the least Lubitsch-y, or the Lubitsch touch, as Billy Wilder called it, of his films. I like what Connor was saying. I think there's a lot of great stuff here. Let's just get into it, I actually had some ideas, when I was watching this time, I wanted to bring up. And, if Kirk doesn't mind, he brought up during the Shaun of the Dead that he's always a fan of sort of not necessarily going too far deep, but looking at what's on the surface.
Oh, no, go ahead. Feel free.
So I had a question of one of the things that, I think Pauline Kael says about this movie is it's sort of characters, basically middle-class characters, I think, as Jimmy Stewart says, who are sort of just happy to be there. They're never going to have a better position than what Jimmy Stewart ends in with, which is something that's sort of used as a criticism in the movie, that it's sort of just praising the sort of capitalistic thing that is never decried or criticized in the movie. This character's just happy in a role that's kind of given, nothing else there. I know you brought up this sort of idea during Beauty and the Beast, which is why I want to throw it out there to you.
No, it's interesting. I would say there's some dissonance there for me between like kind of the inherent struggle between the manager, the owner, the ownership, the ruler and his peons, because they're all wearing suits. They're all so professional looking. They all seem so well to do, and it's like it's just a totally different time. Honestly, if Hitler had seen this movie, I don't know if he did, he would not have invaded Hungary in 1944 or whatever. He would have stayed away.
He actually said this was the reason.
These guys are all right by me, this is a good country, this is not, that's not my German. Okay, never mind. Anyways,
Minnesota, Hitler.
Anyways, I was gonna. Never mind. We should watch Downfall one time because I will.
Kirk, you were offending all the Hitler fans.
Kirk has brought up that movie so many times. I have to watch it at some point. I don't want to hog the thing because I actually really want to get to what Tony has to say, since I think he has a lot of.
Well, this isn't much of a. This is a very.
Sorry.
That I did notice that it was very salient that axis of like the lowers versus the employees versus the owner, and kind of there was a tension there and like kind of a recalcitrance towards the owner at times, and then there's a reconciliation. What was the reconciliation coinciding with the upsurge in love toward kind of a synchronicity? As profits rose, so did lust and love. And so I did notice that parallel. I don't know if there was some some subversion there, or if it was just kind of like everything wanting to turn out okay for everybody. But yeah, I did notice it.
Let me just ask Connor too. Maybe he wanted to comment on that point. Sorry, but one of the things too is this inspired by a play, a great Hungarian playwright. A play called Perfume. It's really good. But one of the things that's fascinating to me is Lubitsch completely removes the politics, the economic depression of the time. I mean, this is a pre-World War II Hungary, and Budapest was especially turmoil. Did you have an idea or feeling about sort of the lack of that, or is it just kind of...
I was about to say that. Yeah, and then you mentioned that there's an explicit lack of it. I mean, I was thinking that was going to be my key to understanding the fact that it wasn't really mentioned until almost the very end of the movie. But there is the sense of losing your job is terrible in this universe. It's like a death sentence, right? When Jimmy Stewart loses his job, it's a disaster, and his counterpart says so. It's like you can't get a job in this economy, and same thing when I'm sorry, what's her name again? The
Slovak
female star?
or Miss Novak? Sorry,
Miss Novak.
Margaret Sullivan.
Right. When Miss Novak comes to the shop, she's so desperate that she doesn't have a job. I think that is conveyed in extent. To what extent you see it. We don't see too much outside of. We only see the store and the storefront, basically. So I thought it was conveyed fairly well. And as for, to me, that sort of made up for maybe the more capitalistic, sort of the more positively capitalist aspects of the movie, which sometimes I am very critical of and suspicious of. I thought, it made sense. They really need this business to go well, and there's also the added wrinkle of our big boss man, big monopoly man, right? He looks like he's a big man with a suit and a mustache, white mustache. We see the other side of things. He can be quite a jerk to his employees a lot of the time, but he's also kind of a nice guy too. And I don't know, maybe, who knows?
Well, the movie explains why the movie forgives him for that. It says
right.
Actually gives an explanation
there's the tension of he hires people, sort of as charity cases. That seems to be a tension, and we get that, okay, he's like a nice guy because he hires a lot of people, even
more
when he
people
doesn't have
than
to.
the competitors.
Right, and maybe you want to think like, oh, that's okay, now we're worshiping, the employers now that they hire people out of charity, because of course they do need employers. But there is an element where it's trying to have both sides of the equation, and I thought it was very well done, and whereas it's a pretty light movie, it doesn't get too heavy. I thought there was the desperation of financial failure and being out on the street and stuff like that.
Well, on that note, do you think that it was important this movie was set in Budapest? Because the whole movie, I'm like, why is this set in Budapest? You mentioned Shakespeare. And it was kind of, he would set his plays in all these different countries. So it's kind of felt like that in a way. It's like, it could really be anywhere. It doesn't really matter that it's Budapest.
It's really England, but it's set
it could be anywhere.
in Italy.
That was my theory.
Nairobi, Kenya, based on the cast. We're not sure, honestly, folks.
Okay, well, Europe, America, nowadays, possibly Asia, especially Japan, China, the capitalistic China, but
after 1996,
I mean, my bet.
Damn Nagano Olympics.
My answer to Tony's question was, it's a deliberate move of not just where the play's set, but of the idea that these sort of everyman characters that we're seeing are all playing out and suffering the same everyday problems that we see in the screen. And it makes it largely relatable. It's not just us in the U.S. going through a sort of depression, trying to find a job and find love, but it's these people in Hungary. Whether that's realistic, of course not. But seeing a movie as an escape of what it was at this time, it makes sense. I think it's quite beautiful to see play out. But what about you, Tony? Do you have anything you want to address, highlight?
About the movie? No, I mentioned some things. I just I thought the little moments were what I liked the most. Just moments of acting. Again, with just Jimmy Stewart, like when he gets fired for that first time and you just see on his face, like just the devastation and the shock, and he just plays it so perfectly, and it's just a beautiful performance. And then when he has that first meeting when he's supposed to meet Novak at the restaurant cafe, whatever, there's a band playing, which I've never seen that in a cafe. But anyway, you
live in New York, dude.
I don't go to many cafes, like I said. Anyway, but yeah, just that scene is really well written and well performed, and just their performances are both so nice, and so the dialogue is just really crackling and just a lot of fun. It's just dense with jokes and I like just stuff like that. I love the character of the who's the guy,
errand boy?
The errand boy,
Pepe?
who I imagine either today would be played by either Gilbert Gottfried or Joe Hill. I can't decide.
Gilbert Gottfried would be kind of a weird choice.
Just because he has this really high voice.
Yeah.
Is Judd Apatow directing?
It's the most striking.
And he seems a lot older than kind of the character's supposed to be.
You're a little child, aren't you? He's like, yes, I am. He's like, he looks like he's 28 years old.
But even he says, listen, I'm a child.
That's what I'm talking about.
I will say this, is every time I watch this movie, I don't know whether I actually I like the boy towards the latter half, but that first half I always waver whether I find him actually annoying or whether I think he's funny. And I think maybe that's part of the charm, maybe. The Jonah Hill thing seems off. I can't agree.
I just imagine seeing Jonah Hill in this movie, like, I put Jonah Hill in this role, and then just all right, that's the experience I imagine.
For the next remake, we can.
When we do a new one, they would meet online. It'd be online dating, and although I guess they do, You Got Mail is the same thing. Yeah. Anyway,
they'd be meeting on Tinder.
You're about to jump in, Kirk?
No, I didn't. I noticed there were some laughs. I didn't find the movie particularly funny, but I can see where it was funny. It just wasn't personally funny for me. And as far as I wanted to bring up the scene where he gets fired. That seems to be our nadir, right? That is the lowest. It's so drawn out. There's so many slow walks and there's dead silence, and it's we're meant to feel like he's losing, like Connor mentioned earlier, he's losing. It's a death sentence. He's losing a part of himself. He's losing his self-worth and his worth as appraised by his peers and society as a whole. And it's almost whoa, what, it's almost a little bit it is unsettling in a way for it was unsettling for me to watch. And then, there was just, on the periphery of that scene, there was a suicide attempt, which was a little faster, a little more brushed off, and a little more concealed.
And they make a joke about it later.
Yeah, it's just like this job, whether it's the community or whether it's if it merely is the paycheck, I'm not sure. The stability, I guess we're meant to see the market as so slack that it's a horrible job market, and once he falls out. But the problem for me is like when he's walking out of that, I can't visualize because I don't have that contrast. I don't know what he's walking toward. We don't see anybody who's not in a suit in this movie, which is fine. But I don't know what the stakes are, because I don't know. I can hear it. It's an abstract. It's hard to get a job, but unless I see the consequences of that, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be empathize. I understand, the loss of a job, but I'm not sure in that specific context, in that era, in that country, what that means. So yeah, that's a little bit of a struggle for me, but.
I mean, what's interesting with the immediate aftermath of the loss of the job is we see him at the cafe with his best friend, planning to tell the girl that he's been corresponding with, he hasn't met her at this point, who is Miss Novak, that he's not going to meet her. He's about to ask his friend to deliver the letter and say he's not going to be there. So we get this idea that immediately after being fired, he's possibly, he can't face himself to meet a girl for love. There's a sort of idea now that economics is tying to love. He asks his friend, how much money do you think it takes for just you and your wife if you ignore the kids, which we know at this time it's impossible. Kids are going to be coming soon. I'd say though, one thing I thought about this, and this isn't directly addressing your point, Kirk, but one of the things I think about this and all the movies that come after, all the romantic comedies we've seen, all the some good, some bad, some awful, is what's fascinating is the movie kind of skirts past what most other movies would make sort of the third act, or sort of what would be closer to the end. I think it's interesting that the suicide scene comes near the middle. It's almost like by the time we get to the third act, every payoff is less and less. I mean, we know from the beginning that the movie has to end with a sort of love of triumphing. Every little payoff, though, on the way, I think is more powerful than when we get to that. Sorry, I'm just kind of rambling now. But.
Yeah, the suicide scene is kind of funny because it's the sort of thing where it's it's very much dated, because it would just never be done like this now. People are so sensitive about mental health and suicide, and I mean it's handled poorly to be sure, but it would be handled poorly in a far different way than it is in this movie. I'm not saying it's a bad scene necessarily. I'm saying it's a product of its time.
And before Connor
now
answers,
it looks kind of funny.
Let's just say too, I like that we never see the wife or the whole situation there. It's completely on the side. We're completely focused on sort of the workforce, the work environment, and how it's affecting the boss and the workers. Sorry.
I quite enjoyed the tact of that scene. I think it's way more than you get today.
Yeah.
I mean, we see, hey, Mr. Matuszek, what are you doing? You hear that he runs in, and we see a light get hit by a bullet. And it's this abstract. What's going on? What is going on? Okay, now I get it. Now we see the gun. We never see him holding the gun to his head. There's something about that it's the kind of theatrical commitment to not having violence on stage. That's a big thing in theater. Going back to to ancient times, have violence happen off stage, and that's kind of what happens in this movie. It's interesting, and I thought it was tactful, and I thought it wasn't ridiculous. Of course, I bought his pain, not only with his wife, but also firing his friend and not knowing what to do and being confused. He's a very conflicted guy. I got that a lot. I thought that was very moving.
Okay, I guess it was just the abruptness of it for me.
It was a bit abrupt.
It was very.
And it was played a little bit.
And
jokingly.
the fact the guy, the silliest, most annoying character, someone who runs in.
But I thought that was kind of the point. The guy who's we think it's this is just a fun movie. Okay, the funny guy walks in, and then he has to see this happening. I thought that was very interesting. That was effective.
Let me just ask real quick. It is abrupt, I think, in a way, but. Going back, let's just say that happens around the middle, which I think it does. I could be wrong. Maybe it happens sooner or later. But don't you think, though, from the beginning, did you guys, since this is all your first time watching it, did you kind of have clues that something was happening with his wife cheating?
No.
Oh, really?
Definitely not.
Oh, I mean, maybe it was just me. I kind of.
We just know something's going on with him. Like he's mad,
and he seemed jealous because his wife liked,
But you knew for sure there's a domestic issue. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think about that scene?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily.
No, I didn't have a problem with the violence being off stage per se, or the motivation. I just abrupt, maybe cut short. I don't know. Maybe seeing the aftermath of it a little bit more. We see him. Doesn't it cut to him being in the hospital right away?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just because I guess I'm comparing it to what I felt was the most dramatic scene, which was Jimmy Stewart losing his job. So I'm trying to categorize those and kind of place them in their correct hierarchy, and it felt like the movie was giving more.
Well, Jimmy Stewart's the main character, and that's part of his arc. I mean, it makes sense.
Well, the firing happens right before the suicide too. We get a few scenes of them moving the stuff, and then we get the suicide.
And then this is the part where it gets really bad, and then they come back from that. They build up.
Not only is the manager suspicious of his wife through this time, he has the private investigator out, but he lost his longest employee, who we know from Jimmy Stewart's earlier discussion said he once felt like a son, at least a close friend to him. But did you have
minor pittance?
No, I don't think it's bad or unmotivated. I'm just saying, to my modern sensibilities, the way it was done it felt kind of jarring.
It is kind of weird. It is all over the place.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I think that's an important point because like Kirk says, the movie wasn't exactly funny or laugh out loud funny. I mean, it's hard for a comedy from over 75 years ago to possibly make us roll around the floor. I mean, can you imagine a comedy in the last 10 years being like that? I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard for me to imagine 70 years from now people are laughing at Borat. I could be wrong.
It's already losing a bit of its luster, but I mean, I would like to talk about what I think is kind of I think Kirk's gonna be mad, but the big thematic aspect of this movie, which doesn't have to be big thematic or it doesn't have to be philosophical. Maybe it can be social or personal. Like, what is the deal with to me? There's a distinction between the kind of the fiscal or the economic, the business. There's the business, and then there's kind of the emotions, right? Huh?
Yeah, no. I understand what you're saying. No, go ahead.
Sorry.
A lot of weird gestures. I'm sorry. Kirk was trying to ask me how much time we had. We're at 27 minutes.
Okay.
It's impossible for me to single that.
We
I
want
to hear what your point was.
No. It had nothing to do with you, Connor.
He was pointing at you.
Speaking of Frank Morgan,
putting bunny ears behind my head.
The curtain. Now you'll see the great mechanism.
Connor has his spark.
Gets the part that'll make him mad.
Connor has the spark notes for the.
No, that was just
not about you, Connor. It was honestly. We've been talking for a while. That's all.
We have. I just wanted to get to the idea. So, the whole idea is that Jimmy Stewart makes up, or does he make up? He creates this persona of the sensitive man to write to the girl who's also very sensitive. He says, "Listen, I was going to buy an encyclopedia because I want to educate myself. I'm done with all the business and just having fun. I was going to buy an encyclopedia. Then I found her wanted ad. Right? So it's kind of weird. It's like this is his way of educating himself." Is he dumb or is he actually really smart? And then there's this idea, if he creates this sensitive character that he then kind of ruins before her very eyes, he says he's just a sponger and kind of a wimp and he's fat and stuff like that. But it's complicated. I don't know. There's something about this stuff. Maybe I think it's one idea is that don't go looking for the perfect sensitive man, because that kind of what you think is that sensitive man may be kind of one aspect of that man who's kind of a dick to you at work. I don't know.
Well, there's the element of we have to a certain extent, in finding a mate, we have to kind of put on these airs. We have to act in a way we might not act normally. We have to go outside of our comfort zone and maybe not do what he does necessarily.
Right.
But it's there's an element of that.
That's
as you grow to know somebody, that kind of gets peeled away and you find out more, I don't know.
I think Tony, though, actually brings up what's at the heart of most Lubitsch films. Less so this one, just because we have the Frank Morgan Monachek scenes, but Lubitsch loves playing at the sort of joke of courtship. What it means to appeal to a partner, and for that partner to appeal to us.
Definitely, that is interesting.
I do find it interesting though what he goes from the encyclopedia that he can't afford, and he immediately starts talking about a newspaper, which at the time was one of the few affordable informational sources. What better way to sort of educate yourself at the time? But
yeah, I just see it as the gradual alignment between the ideal and the real of the selves. You know, it's Jimmy Stewart and Margaret Sullivan on these trajectories toward, you know, separated between what they want and what they have, and then those kind of aligning, and that's some sort of cursory definition of love, you know. So I think that's beautiful in a way, and I think that's why, at least for me, it was quite endearing, you know, the movie itself. So.
All right. Well, Kirk has some beautiful words there, but I know our sponsors at Brooklyn Kale have been quite upset at us for, you know, messing with time. So let's move on to the votes.
I say yes.
Yeah, why not? I thought this is a great movie. I can appreciate all that it did, and I thought, why not? You know, this would be something I could see myself watching in the future, maybe one day down the line with someone special.
So soft
looking
yes,
at you, Tony.
Possibly a hard yes for the future.
Me too.
Well, it starts as a soft yes and then becomes a hard yes, if you know what I'm saying.
He's like a cigarette lighter, burning bright.
Yeah, it's a no for me. Just kidding, I like it. It was already in.
It would have been
yes.
It would have been a crybaby no, but you know, since that went quickly, let me just say real quick that Lubitsch is a director I feel kind of has fallen on the wayside. He's not quite talked about as much as some of the more classical filmmakers, but anyone who's interested in comparing him to a modern sense, anyone who saw Grand Budapest Hotel and saw remembers the Ralph Fiennes scene talking to Zorro.
Quaintness.
Anderson has gone on record as saying, you know, it's inspired by the Rudy and the Monachek scene. Whit Stillman has also been on a fan. For me personally, I'll just say that I put this film up there with City Lights and It Happened One Night, possibly maybe Man Godfrey, as a foundational source for the romantic comedy for cinematic history. But you know, I thought one person for sure was going to dislike it, but I'm surprised and excited to be proven wrong. But let's go to the nominations.
Nominations? Who wants to go first?
Not me.
Do you not have a movie?
No, I just don't wish to go first.
Tony's least recent, so if he wants you to go first, you could go first.
Yeah, I'll go first, sure. My suggestion is, I've suggested a Michael Mann movie before, and whoever was judging, I forget who, made a terrible mistake of not picking it, so I'm going to try again.
You picked Heat, I think.
Yeah. So I'm going to try another one. This is Thief. This one really works. It's got James Caan. It is a classic. It's just super cool movie. It's got a lot of just goodness in it, and I'm really eager to watch it again.
Are you guys familiar with Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin?
I am.
Have you seen it?
I watched it at your house.
Oh, you watched it in my house.
That's right.
Well, I'm a big fan of Battleship Potemkin.
I've actually not seen it.
Great movie, but I like to recommend what I think is kind of the modern equivalent of Battleship Potemkin. And yes, in honor of 4th of July, I would like to recommend, 2010's Battleship.
Oh my
Now,
God.
famously, the pitch meeting for Battleship, someone went to the board, they wrote Battleship Potemkin, and then crossed out Potemkin, and then turned the S in Battleship into a $.
Just to make sure I have the right movie, you're talking about the one starring the greatest actress of our time, possibly all time, Rihanna.
Rihanna's
Someone
in it,
Taylor
and she's quite
Kitsch,
good.
baby.
And
Best
she's
role.
quite good.
All right.
Best role in Still True Detective.
But I
Most
think this
underrated
movie's
team.
actually quite good.
All right. You know what? Fuck it. This is a movie everyone's heard of.
There was the explicit rating, by the way. 33 minutes
Anthony
in.
got it out of the way. Cumber
The
bitches.
gentility.
That wasn't explicit. You can say it on ABC.
All right,
ABC
fuck.
Fans.
That's in the
Fine
dictionary.
news.
That's a
Anyways.
swear word.
This is a 2000 movie. It's a drama starring somebody who has yet to be on our podcast in an acting role. This gentleman won the Oscar for Best Actor, unless I'm wrong, which I hope I'm not, but I believe he did. This movie is called Castaway, starring Tom Hanks, Helen Hunt.
I thought I was the populist here.
You know what? This Castaway's great.
To
To compare Castaway to Battleship is a travesty. Castaway is great. It's a great FedEx
Have you seen Battleship?
product placement. I've seen all I need to see from Battleship. Anyway.
So I saw a scene on HBO once. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it. I'm just being upfront about it.
Okay. All right. Well, then don't fucking talk until your rebuttal.
Roger Ebert, upon passing away, said Battleship.
I want to explore. I think
Confusing a
this
lot
would
of
be
people, yeah.
extremely interesting to explore the intrapsychic world of the character portrayed in Castaway. How we can correlate that with the solipsistic kind of conclave that is created by technology. So I wish to explore that with Anthony. I hope I'm pandering enough. Anyways, go ahead.
Wait. 1 second. I have 2 questions. One, what year is Thief when it was released? And 2, is Battleship really the populist choice?
Is it populist? I know. I guess
Does anyone really like
the
this
lowbrow
movie?
choice, right? So the lowbrow choice, I should say, and not many people like it. It's true.
Thief, 1981.
So it's Michael Mann's first movie?
I believe it is his first feature film, yes. Still feels fully formed, super well-realized vision. It's got cool heistiness, all the man stuff you love. It's interesting seeing it comparing to something like Heat, because it's like definitely like looks like an older film, but it's still got those same kind of manny goodness. And then you watch his later stuff, and it's got the same stuff, but it's really different because the technology's changed. It's really interesting. But yeah, I think this is just a really solid movie. It's got a great classic score by Tangerine Dream, which actually was nominated for the Razzie for Worst Score, which is kind of hilarious. Anyway, which I don't think they even do that Razzie anymore.
Razzies suck.
They're pretty terrible. They nominated Stanley Kubrick for The Shining, Worst Director, which I don't even understand. Anyway,
weird.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I just think, I mean, I know I shouldn't have said that, told Kirk, you haven't seen Battleship, because now I painted myself into this corner where he's on the edge of his seat waiting for me to diss his movie so he can just parrot my line back to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to diss. Battleship looks like Castaway looks like a masterpiece.
Wait,
That's
you
all
haven't
I'll say.
seen Castaway?
I haven't seen it.
And he was talking shit. Okay.
You haven't seen Thief? Okay.
No, I'm talking about when I said something about Battleship. Anyway, go ahead.
But I didn't say anything about... Okay, alright, sorry.
You did.
Anyway, so,
You said with your eyes.
you see what I'm dealing with, guys? Anyway, yeah, I think my movie, I feel like based on what I know of their movies, is probably the best and probably is the coolest and has the most to chew on. Probably, I'm rebutting Kirk based on my ignorance. I'm doing my best here. I think everyone would like it, and I really want to watch this movie again. That's all. Also, I have the Criterion Blu-ray, which is a great box art. Look it up. That's my rebuttal.
Which you bought at the Barnes & Noble sale on going through the month of July. Thank you, Barnes & Noble, for sponsoring our podcast. 50% off.
Okay, so I don't even need to talk about these other guys' movies. They're both good, I'm sure. I haven't seen Tony's, but and I haven't seen Castaway in a long, long time, and it was on cable, and I should watch it again. However, I think this choice could be very good for our podcast. It's a bit sensational, I agree, but I think I have an angle for this movie, and I think it's a movie that really does work. Roger Ebert did say it has an honest-to-God third act. Structurally, it's pretty good. There's some idiosyncrasies. These idiosyncrasies, I think, you may identify, not everyone does, but I think this is kind of a style of filmmaking that one associates right with who else but Michael Bay. Michael Bay, and kind of the conventional image of this, well, I mean, it's robots and crazy things and lots of action and a certain kind of dialogue that's hard to pin down. But I think this is the example where the Michael Bay style of filmmaking succeeds to the degree that it couldn't have been made any other way. I think it finds its place and its time and its subject, and it does it so well to make a movie that's way bigger than the sum of its parts, I think.
Did he direct it?
No, Michael Bay had nothing to do with this movie. I'm sorry. Now I'm forgetting the name of the director.
Okay,
I thought about it. I'm just blanking randomly. So.
All right. So let's see. Let me just double check here. I heard something over there. I'm not interested, Tony, in watching.
It's not called Queef, Kirk. Just to be before you say anything, it's not called Queef.
No, I didn't think it was. You take me
good.
Which is a natural bodily occurrence.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything about it.
I'm just
Tony has painted himself. Along with Manny Goodness, he also made fun of women for biological processes today. Let it be known. Anyways, Feminist Wire is calling you, Tony. I'm not interested in seeing the Winona Ryder biopic. All right, I saw the.
I love that.
Oh, I wish my dream.
I saw the Salma Hayek one. It was okay, but as far as like mid 2000s actresses, I'm not interested. All right, and Connor, if I want to watch a movie called Battleshits, I will just check in on Tony after a night at Taco Bell. Anyways, my movie is the best choice here. It is well acted. It is not by Michael Bay. And it is also stars Helen Hunt, who is kind of dark horse, great actress, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Twister was great.
Neither of these guys can name the directors of their movies. Mine's by Michael Mann.
Peter
One
Berg.
of the best directors.
Peter Berg.
Okay. Well,
Director
look it
of
up.
Lone Survivors.
Yeah, both had to look it up.
You can't hold that against me, though. I mean,
Sure I can. It's rebuttals.
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
it is Ron
I'm
Howard.
sorry, I'm
It's
sorry.
Ron Howard.
I'm saying you couldn't. Okay.
Okay, well,
all right, fine. Let's move on.
No reflection on the film.
Yeah, no reflection on the film whatsoever.
I think this is the first time where I actually have no knowledge and have not seen any of the three nominees.
Ah.
It's pretty cool.
I could be wrong. I'm sure it's happened before, but
What, you're saying you'd
As
seen
for
Battleship
Kurt's-
and forgotten about it? I don't think so.
well, I've seen Verizon commercials for Castaway. I remember those. Was it Verizon? I think.
For Castaway?
Was it Castaway? FedEx or I know FedEx did, but one of the phone companies
I
had
mean, you
it.
would have been
Using
6.
Wilson.
I remember the commercials because I watched them in marketing class.
Okay.
As for Connor, I gotta say, Connor probably could argue any movie and make it sound a pretty good choice.
That was a pretty good argument.
That was a really good argument. I'm actually really curious to hear what the hell could he say about Battleship. I want to invite Armin White on the show because he and Connor apparently would get along. As a side note, The New Yorker put out a great article about how Donald Trump should pick Michael Bay as his running mate.
Sure,
it's really
absolutely.
hilarious.
And let's deal with that, guys. Let's talk about this. What is the deal? What's the style? Why does this appeal to people? We can talk about this. It's important.
As for Tony, he certainly planted the seed early on by, buying the DVD this past week, bringing his bag, and just letting the DVD, or Blu-ray, kind of peek out of the bag for me to see and make me go, I've always wanted to watch that. I gotta say, Tony probably has the best choice for discussion in terms of more serious talk. I feel like Connor's might be of a Spice World sort of caliber.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I mean, Ron Howard, I honestly do think is a very fascinating person to talk about.
Yeah.
American Graffiti.
That's, he was
that's
acting in it,
Lucas.
right? That's George Lucas.
Yeah, but he was in it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ron Howard, I think, is a great populist director. I honestly am
Love him.
torn. I need to, just speaking to sort of judge. I mean, I kind of want to go with Connors, but I think it would set a terrible precedent because he's gone every single other turn. Tony has not gone in a while. I think he deserves another shot. But, I mean, Castaway is also very appealing. This is tough.
This is like America's Got Talent.
This
We'll
is-
be back right after this commercial.
This is more like America's
think-
Next Top Model.
That is a greatly shitty. Sorry, that was the worst possible version of that.
You saw the Key and Peele one, right?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's right.
All right. I think this may be a Simon Killer choice right here, and I'm probably gonna hate my life next week. But I'm gonna go with Battleship. I'm so sorry, Tony.
Why'd you do this?
I'm never gonna go again. I'm never gonna go again
No,
on this
no.
podcast. I thought I had the perfect choice.
No,
That was
no.
perfect.
Tony had the perfect choice, but I'm gonna justify this real quick as saying I am never gonna watch what I presume, based on critic reviews, is this shitty of a movie, this forgettable of a blockbuster. So I hope Connor better bring his F&A game.
I know. If I don't, I am done.
Because after this, I am done picking Connor movies. If he does
fine.
not have an argument.
If you guys do not agree, you may not love the movie, but if you don't see my argument, you'll never have to pick me again. I promise.
So are you're not recommending this movie ironically? Like you're actually gonna fight for it?
No, I'm picking it based on
listen.
your seriousness.
I'm not sure it's 706 greatest movie of all time material. I think it is like a very well done movie. That despite everyone, like comparative to how shitty people think it is, I think it is. And it is kind of funny. I admit it's funny that I picked it. You know?
We'll look at
But,
Kurt nominated Spice World.
Right.
Tony had Barney. I
think Spice World
movies.
is more up our alley. This is a movie that kind of we identify with. Peter Berger, right, directed Lone Survivor, Friday Night Lights, things like this. He's kind of associated, I think, with more of a conservative audience and
that's what fascinates
and Middle
me.
America, etc. So, in this movie, it wasn't by no means extremely popular in any part of the country, but I think it has its place. I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Connor's verbiosity once again still in the spotlight. I
Could
feel
get
like
in a
I
lot
should
of trouble.
apologize to Tony on those.
Thank you, Yoko Ono, for hosting. We will see you never, folks. We'll see if we can get together to watch this movie.
We did it for some pretty weird stuff before. Yeah. Tony's over there ready to kill me in my sleep like Macbeth.
I just had a feeling.
I've always
I
wanted
knew
to
it'd be an
know.
uphill battle after I complained
What
about
if
it.
Rihanna was a good actress? I always
To
wanted
make
to
a
know
point.
that.
Look, I mean, I'm very fascinated by what is a conservative movie and what is something that struck a chord with Middle America right now, as we say. So, I mean, from the moment Connor said that, yeah, I'm not going to change my
It's
mind.
the appeal of the other. It's the allure of the other. And I think we're going to experience that.
Thank you guys, and welcome to the bonus bit of the 706 podcast, where we are with two very special guests through Seance. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Johnny Stewart, brother of the famous Jimmy Stewart.
And I'm Jimmy Stewart, the actor.
I gotta say, I've always been a bigger fan of you, Johnny.
Well, it's really nice of you to say.
I won't take it personally there, Anthony, but sure.
He's got a lot more fans than I do. I'll just say that much.
So what do you guys think about next week's movie selection, Battleship?
Battleship? Fantastic film.
Well, I actually died the day after Battleship came out. It's the last film I saw, and it was my favorite.
Now, there are a lot of stories about you and Margaret Sullivan on the set. Margaret Sullivan is to say a babe. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Why don't you tell him about that, Johnny?
Well, let's just say that
A little bit of mistaken identity.
there's a little bit of a physical resemblance, and me and Jimmy here worked out a bit of an arrangement.
Well, I know you guys have a lot of time, to be dead still. So, anything you want to say to your fans on Tumblr or Twitter?
Keep going.
What is it? The tag? The tag? What are you doing?
Oh, you are pound sign.
The pound sign. The real Jimmy Stewart.
And I believe you have Jimmy. Aren't you going to read us something?
Your favorite book.
Well, actually, this is usually how I warm up to practice my voice for when I appear on interviews.
This isn't how we really talk. This is just put on for the meeting.
So let me try this. This is from the prologue of the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. When that April with his shore is soaked, the drocht of March hath pierced to the road, and bathed every vein in switch liquor, of which virtue engendered is the flow. When Zephyrus ate with his sweet breath, in spirit hath in every hoth and hath, the tender cropos and the young azona, hath in the rum is half y course y rona. Let's stop there.
You're right there, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Every time Jimmy reads that, get into tears.
All right, guys.
Thank you. And
Goodbye.